Good evening. Today we are making this video from an undisclosed location. I've got a very rogue setup at the moment. Have a look. But the show simply must go on. Normally a mainstay of this channel is we have Shaun the Sheep in the background. Today I can announce that we've had a Pinocchio-style resurrection of Shaun. He has come to life.
It's Shaun the Sheep. It's Shaun the Sheep.
So what we're going to be covering in this video is sub and how we can get our subs to translate on any medium. Generally, it's difficult for us to hear sub through AirPod headphones and laptop speakers, but there's a few techniques we can implement to make sure that that sub cuts through on any device we're listening on. So I'd recommend in this video to listen through headphones or your monitors, just so you can hear the subtleties of what's happening in the low end. So let's get into it. I've got a very simple drum pattern and just a one-note sub, and it's just the sub serum oscillator. So let's have a listen. So if we look at the frequency analyzer, very low frequencies, but there's a few techniques we can implement to help that cut through on things like AirPods. One of the first things that you might notice on your sub, when it starts playing higher notes or higher octaves in the frequency range, they tend to get louder. And one of the ways that we can keep the dynamic range of our sub cohesive throughout the whole of the song is a dynamic EQ. So as we can see in these high notes here, that dynamic EQ being influenced more and bringing that level down just a little bit. So now the high notes won't be so loud in comparison to our low notes. So if I set this up from scratch and I'm using a Pro Q, I would double click on the right here to make a shelf at, let's say, around 600 Hertz. And then we create another notch and change that to a higher shelf. And then we bring that down to roughly 100 Hertz. And instead of using it as a normal EQ like this, we bring that to 0. This little outside bit that's red is the dynamic EQ. So it means that EQ is only being enacted when those high frequencies are playing. And when those high frequencies aren't playing, the EQ stays the same. And to get those subs cutting through on things like headphones, we would add saturation. And the reason we do that is because it adds higher harmonics. So if we have no saturation, you can see on the curve, it's existing in a low frequency. And then we put the saturator on. Then we see these little bumps up here where we're introducing a new harmonic frequency into the sub. And personally, I would use a hard curve setting in Ableton Saturator. I've taken the drive down a little bit. And then this amount low is something you can play with. Will give you different results depending on how high you set that. So we can have a listen and change that and see what it sounds like. So to me, around -20 in this situation sounds best. And then we can add another level to that saturation with a FabFilter Saturn. So what I've done here is I've added some saturation to the lower frequency, so under about 150, as we can see there. And I've just taken the drive up just a little bit. And on FabFilter, what you can do is you can set either as stereo or as mid-side. So if you click this little button here, it means we can set this outer ring here to either mono or to stereo. So on this lower frequency range, I've set it to mono and we've got just a 20% drive. And on the higher frequencies, I've set it to 100% stereo and we've added about 50% drive. So it means we get a little bit of wideness in the upper harmonics of the sub and we get some harmonics in the lower end of the sub, but only down the middle. So if we look at the frequency analyzer before and after that, we can see the difference in the harmonics. And after, we get these little notches up here where the harmonics are being introduced. And because we're hearing it at the higher frequencies up here, it means that on all systems, whether it's headphones, whether it's in clubs, whether it's on laptop speakers, you're going to be able to hear that sub regardless. I know this has been a short video this week, but I do hope it's helped. Love to your mothers. Thank you.